Hello there, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name, as always, is Jonal. Today we're actually taking a look at a Discord submission that was coming in both as a DM I hereby, and as I always do with DMs that are not about private coaching, I tell them to move that over to our Discord server, and he decided to repost it in the Discord server, talking about he's a Genji main or a Genji player that do believe that a Reaper is taking the spot of Genji, and I thought that was a very interesting, and he made some very interesting points, so I decided to keep that discussion rolling. I'm very sorry if the gameplay is not 100% optimal or something like that. I am right now I'm very low on hard disk space since I'm recording so many VODs for so many teams, and especially for one team right now. So I'm trying to clear it up so I can have space for more just like general ranked footage and so on, even though I hadn't had that much time actually to play ranked lately. Now, besides, let's really just begin that. I would love to hear your opinions on his points, because you do make them very nicely. I believe it's five, 6 different points. So you can please respond to with your own feedback and how you think of his arguments and my arguments down the comment section below or on our Discord server, link down in the description. Now, so he said he wanna discuss Reaper versus Genji, and as he says, lately I thought a lot about the new Reaper, which is the quote-unquote new Reaper, and if he might be better than Genji these days. His first argument is that Reaper is a much better shield breaker. You deal instantly, consistently high damage, while Genji depends on his deflect, which can deal massive damage on the front line, but is inconsistent, right? Where he's talking about, jumping, going in front of their entire main group and deflecting like Junkrat bombs and all kinds of like damage straight back at the Ryan shield. Well, with Reaper you have that built in. That is actually very rare. That's 100% true that Reaper does have higher burst damage. There's a reason that he is known to be much better at wrecking tanks, especially big targets, where he can get up close and personal and hit with a lot of the pellets. That's where he will be allowed to burst a lot of targets down. Now, one of the things that I believe he is not thinking about is how you play Genji. Now, you don't play a lot of time Genji in the main group as you do with Reaper, which gives Genji a whole different skill set and what can say an advantage that you cannot even closely resemble it to get with Reaper. When you do play Reaper, you can break the shield and you can stay that main group and break it. With Genji, you can take an angle and shoot directly past the shield onto the Reinhardt, for example. So instead of weakening the shield and doing a shield break to force their main group back or to weaken their main group, you can physically weaken their main tank. On top of that, that also allows you to shoot their backline, which can open for an easy kill. This does that you can stay in the main group or around the main group, but you stay on the sides of them, can advance a little bit far forward, shoot past the Ryan shield straight onto him to weaken him so he can't push, and it's very easy for your teams to secure a kill on him or force him back. The same goes for their supports or any DPS that is close to that main group. That you can, with these, hold that angle and shoot past the shield, so you don't actually need to break it if you can shoot past it and even secure a kill or be very, very disturbing. That way, for example, let's say that you have equal team composition, but you have a Genji and they have a Reaper. If you play it correctly and you apply a lot of pressure and you have to drag a lot of attention up to you, let's say 2-3 players maybe are looking at you and shooting at you, trying to deal with you as a Genji, that way you're dragging so much fire from your main group that your main group a lot of time can win the shield war just purely out of that. But it is true that you get higher shield break. That's one of the pros of picking Reaper, but I don't believe that it's such a big pro that it's gonna make Reaper a better pick, unless you're playing directly for shield break in close quarters. Of course, the shield break is reliant on Reaper to be close to your main group, which does that you're stacking a lot of players in the main group, which itself is or at least can be a disadvantage. It's a stronger main group, but it's also a main group that can take more severe, like high amounts of damage, or it can be a little bit more tolling or stressing on your support players. His argument number 2 is that Reaper can kill tanks, DPS and healers. Generally spoken, with Genji, he has problems with tanks and Moira and Brigitte, and these are also very tricky to kill. So you can easily walk in straight, which you can't do as well as Genji. And the fact that he says that Reaper can easily kill DPS and healer, Reaper is known to kill tanks, and the reason he's known to kill tanks is because he's a shotgun user fighting against other people in close range. That's why he's known to be a tank buster, right? Genji can also release kill tanks, you just need to land off headshots and so on, and you can be very, very irritating. As talked about, pressuring a Ryan that's trying to push in, for example, can be incredibly irritating. You can a lot of time deal with a diva or so on, and way earlier So before even the fight has started, you can deal with the tanks, or at least harass the tank and weaken them before their push. That's a general Genji thing. But yeah, in close range, non-team fights, especially on objective fight points, Reaper can a lot of time do more damage to a tank. The problem with the whole thing that he says with DPS and healers, and especially Moira and Brigitte, which he points out that Genji has quote-unquote problem with, is that he doesn't actually. Genji can poke from range. He can close distances on heroes that he wants to get close to. So Kree, Soldier, Senyatas, for example. Genji can with ease close that distance with dash and shurikens. He can poke from a distance, dash into him. He can move very easily around terrain, which can make his paths incredibly hard to predict where he's going to come from. He can crawl from a high ground or whatever, right? He can come from almost anywhere to close that gap onto someone with range. Reaper cannot. Reaper then needs to get initialized with his team, so his tanks need to close the gap for him, and that is then reliant on the fact that the enemy is not holding high ground or anything like that. So dealing with supports and DPS and so on can be very tricky for a Reaper, unless the Reaper is just allowed to walk up to him, which is higher elo you are not. You're just not allowed to walk up to them as freely. Brigitte will easily stun the Reaper, force your Wraith Form, and as soon as your Wraith Form is out, there's a big chance that you will die. The same with a Moira. The Moira can Wraith Form to create distance, send a damage orb, again forcing the Reaper to burn Wraith Form, and so on. And this can do that. It's very tricky actually for a Reaper to kill people, because they can kite him, they can keep him at distance. So as long as they're aware of him, they can a lot of time keep him at a distance. And while Wraith Form is invulnerability, it doesn't stop them from actually stunning you with a lot of abilities, unless you want to try to use it as an iframe, and at that point it's very much like you have a very short period of time. Then you use kind of your only mobility, your only immunity spell. While if you would Genji deflect a flashbang, let's say that, or and so on, and with Brigitte you don't need to get that close as she can stun you. But if you deflect the flashbang, for example, with Genji, you still have dash to disengage, and you still have dash to pass through. Same if you dodge the deflect, the stun with your dash. On the McCree, for example, you still have the deflect up and running, so you can block some bullets from anyone if you're trying to go out or whatever, needing some more time. So that's argument number 3. The whole thing about going in straight. Yeah, you can, in theory, run in straight. It's also an incredibly easy way to get killed as a Reaper, since, again, you can get stunned and really early getting pulled out of your Wraith Form. And as I said, you need HP and abilities to be allowed to close gap, or you need your team to let you close the gap, to help you close the gap. If the enemy team is smart, they can a lot of time just keep you at range. So running in straight with your main team is like, sure, you can do the exact same thing with Genji, but it's not as efficient. It doesn't work the way that he is talking about it, unless you're rushing their tank line, and then that's something specific. So yeah, let's go on to argument number 3, which is Reaper has the ability to become invincible. While Genji dash can often fail, for example, you will get shot, or you get stuck in a wall or something like that. So Reaper can escape constantly, while Genji will fail to get away at some point. That is, into a certain sense, true. Then again, you can also argue the fact that dash or Swift Strike is a much better ability than Wraith Form. That is arguably, because you can use it, you don't use Wraith Form as an offensive ability that much. Then you use it to reload for yourself, right? Or to iframe for a second, so that you can then uncancel it, right? So if you're, you know, for example, a flash or a stun or whatever, you can kind of use that, or to cancel out your the anti-nade or whatever. And with dash, you can use it to kill secure, you can use it to damage. It's much more than an escape ability. But I understand his logic that, hey, you know, I get low, on top of that I'm at 250 HP, so I can get invincible, and then I can just run back to my team. Then again, what you also have to understand is that when you go invincible, let's say, then it's easier for them to kind of follow you around. You have a slight movement increase, but it's much easier for them to follow you around, or to be like, okay, let's just focus on this guy. It's very easy to track you with snipers, or with anyone with range damage, and so on, to like where you're gonna pop out. So yeah, sure, if you get pocketed, then it's cool. But if you don't, then it can also be very easy to secure the kill on that Reaper. But yes, you do have that safety of, you don't need to rotate to where you want to go and then press shift and then hope that you successfully. But if you fuck up the dash, it's majority of the time it's your fault for either doing it too late, or doing it in the wrong way by hitting a wall. So that is normally your mechanical fault, and if you're just actually good enough, and if you play at a higher level, you shouldn't fuck up dashes that often. So it doesn't really become too much of an argument in my opinion, but that's again my opinion. It's really nice that with Wraith Form you can stay there legitimately until you absolutely have to pop Wraith Form, and then you can pop Wraith Form, but you can't do it with Genji. You lots of them have to get out a little bit earlier, logically enough. Argument number 4. Reaper may have less quantity mobility, but his new teleport is what I would call high quality mobility. When you teleport behind the enemy, they almost have no chance of knowing it. A TP behind enemy, 2 headshots, and then Wraith, and then the engage is over. While Genji can always be seen by luck or aiming. By luck, and aiming with him is harder, and escaping is another problem. I believe that this is kind of, I don't know his rank, I don't. I believe if he believes that he can just teleport behind someone, walk up 2 headshots into someone, and then Wraith away, then that's stupid. It's very easy to understand where the Reaper is coming. The Reaper is very vulnerable when he's Wraithing behind someone, so doing a flank like that can be incredibly easily shut down. You can get stunned and killed in the backline, and instead you Wraith from through main. It's very easy for them to push and chase you down and kill you, especially towards, again, the higher elos. I don't know this guy rank. I believe that it is true that for a lot of people it's easier to aim with shotguns with Reaper than it is to aim with a Genji, but that's more of a how good are you actually. So, and it is true, Reaper is more noob friendly than Genji, but with Genji you get far more flexibility. I don't believe that that getting spotted as Genji is easier, and I don't think that it's a problem to escape, because with dash, I can dash to any high ground at any angle, anywhere. I can dash 50 meters where I want through anything, doesn't matter. As long as it's not a wall or something physical blocking me, I can get there. I can dash straight up onto the high ground. Wraith, I can Wraith, and I can, I can go through like main or something like that, but I cannot Wraith up to high ground if I jump down to low ground to get a kill. I can't do that. And with Genji, I can land a couple of headshot, dash through them, get a kill, and then I will get a reset, and I can constantly do that. I can get dash resetted. If I have to pop my Wraith form early in that fight because the Kree saw me and tries to stun me, all of a sudden I don't have my escape abilities. I believe that this is a really wrong point of view, that it's so much easier to flank, and hey, you just teleport behind them and double headshot them and then Wraith them out. It's that easy. It's very easily punished, it's very easily seen, and it is easier to aim with Reaper for a lot of players. However, I believe that that's just that's no way of arguing that one hero is better than another just because he's easier to use if you can get more versatility out of Genji. Now, and then we move on to the last point, which is point number 5, which is more about ultimates or more nano boost combo. A nano blade might be devastating, but a nano reaper that just walks in can be devastating too. Because nano gets more effective the more damage you deal and the more HP you have, which is the case for Reaper. But on top of that, Reaper drains HP relative to his damage, which gets increased. So in my eyes, he makes more use of the nano. Right? Essentially, since you get a defense increase, the more HP you get, logically, it's more difficult to kill a nano Rhine because of the HP, and then you get, a defense increase, so it takes longer time to push him down than a Tracer, right? A nano Tracer. And that's his first argument. The second one is logically the more if you have an ability that only do 5 damage and you add 50% damage increase to that, then that's 7.5. If I deal 100 damage, that's 150 increase, right? So I increase it with 50. So percent wise, he's saying that just because of more HP and more damage, I will get more use out of the nano. Like the percent increase will give me such a bigger stat increase. That on top of that, he talks about the lifesteal, that the more damage I do, the more HP I will regain, so it's more effective on me. On top of that, it's incredible to counter argument that Nanoblade is 2 ultimates. You just walk in, so you're gonna burn 1 ultimate, which is really good for your old economy in theory. If you can hold Death Blossom, use Nano, win a fight, and then use Death Blossoms win another fight, that's 2 free fight. That's actually a really strong argument, but you can also do that with a lot of other things. You can Nano the Rhine, and then you can build a Nerf Shatter, which is a build ultimate, so you can shatter and build ultimates into Shatter. You can Nano just sorry, and do the exact same thing there. You can nano boost a Genji on his own, and he's incredibly dangerous because it's a 75 per dash. If you add that with, a melee, you have taken over half their HP with just a dash and a melee, which is a consistent over 100 damage, right? So I can say the same at that regard, and I will build a Dragon Blade, which is a stronger ultimate than Reaper's Death Blossom. It is a stronger, more versatile, more powerful ultimate to get. Nano Blade is incredibly strong because I can burst through Transcendence with it. You cannot burst through Transcendence with Reaper Nano. They're not that easily, at least. And you get put over for these dilemmas that with Genji, again, I can dash through, I can dodge stuff, I can deflect stuff. With Reaper, I can Nano. You have Brave Form, which can iframe, but you're still very easy to track, still very easy to hit on that point. With Genji, he can dash around, he can move a lot, he can get to high grounds and kill stuff on high ground. So popping the Nano Blade gives you a lot of time. Faster kills, more burst kills, can get faster and easier through a lot of ultimates. You can be easier to, it's harder to shut it down a lot of the times. So while you in theory get more value out of the nano boost, because you're also popping a blade, you do get and such an increase in efficiency. And that's what we want with that combo. When we Nano Blade, we do it especially to win a team fight. If you Nano Reaper, it's logical to get an advantage in the team fight, but it's normally also to build, you know, Death Blossom or whatever. I don't think that Reaper is replacing Genji anytime. I still believe that Genji has the versatility that no other hero in the game has, and you can hold your range if they are good at up close. If they are really bad up close, you can close the gap very easily. He's very good at almost anything, which gives him a thing. But Reaper has his strength, definitely. I just believe that Reaper is more for a niche and, you know, a situation where it can work. But overall, I don't think that a Reaper is going to replace Genji really ever, at least unless they do some major patches all of a sudden, some buffs and nerfs to those two. And I don't believe that, even though Reaper is far more noob friendly and new guy, no FPS friendly, I don't think he will ever take out Genji's spot. That's of course my opinion. I would like to hear your down in the description. As always, guys, my name is Jonal. You guys, please take care of yourselves, stay positive, and as always, keep the enemy in your crosshair.